A phone rings. It's 12:40 in the morning, July 5th, 1969. The night dispatcher at the Vallejo Police Department picks up. I shot 2 people at Blue Rock Springs. The voice is flat, mechanical, devoid of any human feeling. It doesn't rush. It doesn't whisper. It speaks the way you might read a grocery list. 6 months ago, I also killed 2 teenagers on Lake Herman Road. Before the dispatcher can respond, the line goes dead. 60 seconds, that's all. But in those 60 seconds, a shadow stepped out of the darkness that America would spend the next 55 years desperately trying to see clearly. This is the Zodiac Killer. He was never caught, never officially identified, never brought to justice. And what makes that silence so terrifying is that it was deliberate. To understand the Zodiac, Nash, you have to understand the world he stepped into. Northern California in 1968, the summer of love had barely ended. Woodstock was still a year away. The streets of San Francisco smelled like incense and revolution. People believed in peace, they believed in the goodness of strangers, and that belief, that beautiful, naive belief, is exactly what he exploited. The Zodiac Killer was not a monster from a movie. He didn't lurk in back alleys. He drove ordinary cars, he made phone calls. He wrote letters, he mocked police in the newspapers. He was organized, intelligent, patient, and completely invisible. He operated in the Bay Area for at least 5 confirmed murders between 1968 and 1969. But he claimed far more. The newspapers only know about 5, he wrote in one letter. I have killed 37. Was he telling the truth? Or was it theater? That question haunted investigators for decades. Because with the Zodiac, the line between crime and performance was always blurred. He wasn't just killing, he was communicating. He was building a legend. And somewhere along the way, he succeeded beyond any killer before or since. December 20th, 1968. Lake Herman Road, Vallejo, California. It's a Friday night, cold, dark, the kind of road where you can see stars because there's nothing else to look at. David Faraday is 17, a good student, a basketball player, someone everyone liked. Betty Lou Jensen is 16. It's their first date. David parks his 1961 Rambler along the deserted stretch of Lake Herman Road, a known spot for young couples looking for a little privacy. Music plays on the radio. Windows fog slightly from the cold. It's peaceful, ordinary, or the kind of moment you never think will be the last. Then, tail lights. A car slows, stops nearby. A figure gets out. David reaches for the door, perhaps to see what the stranger wants. A single shot to the head. He never made it out. Betty bolted. She ran into the darkness, no direction, no plan, just pure survival instinct. She made it 28 feet. The attacker followed her, calmly, deliberately, and shot her 5 times in the back with a .22 caliber pistol. When the bodies were discovered, police found no witnesses, no tire tracks, no fingerprints, nothing. The case went cold, and for 7 months, the killer waited. July 4th, 1969, Blue Rock Springs Park, Independence Day. The fireworks had just ended. Michael Majot, 19, and Darlene Farron, 22, sat in her brown Corvair in the parking area. Others were nearby, but not close enough. A white Chevrolet approached and stopped beside them. A man got out, tall, heavy-set. He held a flashlight, sweeping it slowly across their faces, studying them. Then he returned to his car. Michael relaxed. Maybe just a curious passerby. He was wrong. The man came back, and this time there was a gun in his hand. He opened fire without a word. No warning, no motive offered, just bullets. Darlene was killed instantly. Michael, shot in the arm and neck, survived by playing dead. He lay still, listening as the attacker walked away, got in his car, and drove off, tires screeching. 40 minutes later, the phone call, that cold, flat voice describing both crime scenes, connecting them. It was the same man. But then came something no one expected. On August 1st, 1969, the 3 newspapers received letters simultaneously. The San Francisco Chronicle, the Vallejo Times-Herald, and the San Francisco Examiner. Each envelope contained a piece of an encrypted cipher. Together, they formed a 408-character coded message. If you don't print this on the front page, I will start hunting people who walk alone at night. The cipher was unlike anything cryptographers had seen. Symbols, reversed letters, mirror image characters, a system deliberately designed to be nearly impossible. And embedded in the threat was a promise. Solve this and you'll know who I am. The newspapers published it. The city held its breath. It took a school teacher and his wife 20 hours to crack it. Donald and Betty Harden, living in Salinas, California, worked through the night on August 8, 1969. When they finally broke through the encryption, what they found was not a name. It was a philosophy. I like killing people because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal. I will not give you my name because you will try to catch me. No name, no address, no face. Just the mind behind the murders, laid bare, mocking them from the page. He had signed his letter with a symbol, a circle divided by a crosshair, like a gun sight, like a zodiac wheel. The press called him the Zodiac, and from that moment, the name took on a life of its own. October 11th, 1969, San Francisco. Paul Stein, 29 years old, was driving a yellow cab through the city late at night to pay his way through graduate school. A passenger flagged him at Union Square. At 9:55 p.m., the cab stopped in Presidio Heights. The passenger shot Paul once in the head with a 9mm pistol. Then, and this is the detail that still chills investigators, the killer didn't run. He sat there. He tore a piece from Paul's shirt. He wiped down the cab. He cleaned his fingerprints with deliberate patience. 3 witnesses in an apartment across the street saw it happen and called police immediately. 2 patrol cars were dispatched. They drove right past him. The dispatcher had described the suspect as a black male. He was white. 2 officers looked at a heavy-set white man walking away from the scene and kept driving. He disappeared into the Presidio Park. Gone. 2 days later, another letter arrived at the Chronicle. I am the one who did the taxi driver. The police shall never catch me because I have been too clever for them. He included the torn piece of Paul Stein's shirt as proof. What followed was one of the largest manhunts in California history. Over 2,500 suspects were investigated. Tips poured in from across the country. The FBI got involved. Cryptographers were consulted. Witnesses were re-interviewed. Phone records were pulled. And yet, nothing definitive emerged. One name kept rising to the top. Arthur Lee Allen. Born in 1933, a former school teacher living in Vallejo. Stocky build, 5 feet 11 inches. He wore a Zodiac brand watch, the very brand from which the killer may have taken his name. He knew the areas where the murders occurred. He had hunted. He had access to the weapon types used. Most damning, a close friend reported that Allen had once told him, before any of the killings began, "I'm going to hunt people for sport. I'll call myself the Zodiac." Investigators searched his home in 1972. They found disturbing items, materials that raised alarms, but they found no direct evidence linking him to the crimes. Allen was interrogated. He denied everything. He was calm, cooperative, almost too cooperative. In 2002, DNA testing was conducted on saliva from Zodiac's envelope stamps. The profile didn't match Arthur Lee Allen. Fingerprints didn't match either. Allen died in 1992. Still a suspect, still never charged. The case went colder still. November 9th, 1969. A new letter. This one contained a 340-character cipher, far more complex than the first. Cryptographers from the NSA studied it. Military codebreakers attempted it. Amateur enthusiasts spent decades on it. For 51 years, the 340 cipher remained unsolved. Then on December 11th, 2020, everything changed. David Oranchak, a software developer from Virginia. Sam Blake, a mathematician in Australia. Jarl van Eyck, a cipher expert in Belgium. 3 strangers, 3 countries, 1 shared obsession. Working together online, using custom decryption software that tested millions of combinations, they cracked it. The message read, "I hope you are having lots of fun in trying to catch me. That wasn't me on the TV show," which brings up a point about me. I am not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise all the sooner. Still no name, but a mind exposed further than ever before. He had been watching. He had been entertained by the chase. And now, decades later, he had spoken again from the past. And then, 6 months after the cipher was cracked, a group called the Case Breakers, a 40-person team of retired FBI agents, journalists, and investigators, made a declaration. They believed they had identified the Zodiac Killer. His name, Gary Francis Post, born 1928, a house painter by trade, a gang leader by reputation, dead in 2018. The Case Breakers pointed to a striking set of correspondences. Post's physical description, height, weight, facial structure, the distinctive forehead scars described by Paul Stein's murder witness, Donald Fuch, aligned closely with eyewitness accounts. His letters contained handwriting similarities to Zodiac's correspondence. His name, when used as a key to decode certain ciphers, revealed hidden messages. He lived near the murder locations in 1969. He had known ties to the hunting community, and most chilling of all, his gang was linked to the 1966 murder of Sherry Jo Bates in Riverside, California, a murder the Zodiac himself had claimed responsibility for. The Case Breakers brought their findings to the FBI. The FBI offered no public confirmation, no denial either. Just silence. The same silence that has defined this case for over half a century. Who was the Zodiac truly? Not just a killer, but a communicator, a performer. A man who understood, perhaps better than anyone, that fear is amplified by mystery. He didn't just murder, he curated the experience of being hunted. He sent ciphers with false promises of his name embedded inside. He wrote to newspapers. He called police. He kept score. SFPD equals 0, Zodiac equals 10. Every letter escalated the mythology. He claimed 37 victims, while only 5 were confirmed. Whether that number was truth or manipulation, it didn't matter, because people believed it was possible. That belief was the real weapon. Psychologists who studied the case described a rare and dangerous profile, a grandiose narcissist with paraphilic compulsions and a theatrical need for recognition, but a simultaneous terror of exposure. He craved fame and anonymity at once. He signed his letters like a brand, the crosshair symbol, the name Zodiac. He was building something that would outlast him, and he was right. The letters stopped after 1974. No confirmed killings after late 1969. 3 possibilities have long been debated. 1, he died, perhaps quietly, without anyone connecting the death to the case. 2, he was imprisoned for another crime, and the letters stopped not because he chose to stop, but because he couldn't continue. 3, he simply stopped, faded back into ordinary life, became someone's neighbor, someone's co-worker, someone's grandfather. The Zodiac case reshaped American law enforcement forever. Before Zodiac, the concept of a serial killer with no connection to his victims, no motive, no relationship, no pattern of association, was barely understood. After Zodiac, the FBI began developing what would become the science of criminal profiling. His letters gave investigators a new kind of evidence: linguistic fingerprinting, the way he constructed sentences, his particular misspellings, his rhythm of punctuation, all of it analyzed, cataloged, and studied for decades. The case also revealed a critical flaw in interagency communication. Vallejo Police, Napa County Sheriff, San Francisco PD, and the FBI all worked in silos, sharing fragments of information, but never the full picture. The Zodiac exploited those gaps perfectly, crossing jurisdictions the way most killers cross streets. In popular culture, the shadow of the Zodiac spread far and wide. David Fincher's 2007 film brought the case to a new generation. Robert Downey Jr., Jake Gyllenhaal, and Mark Ruffalo embodied the obsession that consumed real investigators. The film's lasting power is its refusal to offer resolution, because there is none. Arthur Lee Allen, Lawrence Kane, Richard Gaikowski, Earl Van Best Jr., Gary Francis Post. 5 strong suspects, dozens of circumstantial connections, 0 confirmed identifications. The case remains officially open. Here is what we know for certain. Between December 1968 and October 1969, a man murdered at least 5 people across Northern California. He left almost no physical evidence. He taunted police with coded letters. He terrified millions. And then, he vanished. The 340 cipher took 51 years and 3 continents to solve. And when it was finally decoded, it still didn't give us a name. Just the mind, just the voice, just the cold certainty of a man who believed he would never be caught. So far, he's been right. But here's what sits uncomfortably at the edge of this story. If Gary Francis Post is not the Zodiac, and no authority has confirmed that he is, then the real killer's identity may never be known. The DNA doesn't match Alan. The fingerprints don't match. Every suspect has gaps. Every trail goes cold. And if by some extraordinary chance the Zodiac is still alive, he would be well into his 80s now. He might have watched the 340 cipher get solved on the evening news. He might have read the headlines about Gary Francis Post. He might, somewhere out there, have smiled. Because the one thing the Zodiac always wanted, more than bodies, more than ciphers, more than headlines, was to remain a mystery. And in that, at least, he succeeded completely. This script is based on publicly available information and documented case evidence. No individual has been officially named as the Zodiac Killer. The case remains open.